Injury carnage at the MCG as the Demons and the Dockers prevail on the Saturday night stage. That and more as we take a look at the round so far. Welcome, Kane. Lots to talk about. It was one of those look away now moments, though, at the G today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, Matty. Thanks for that. Yeah, it was awful stuff, wasn't it? I think we hate to see that, any game of footy, and it's just a stark reminder of how courageous and how much risk these players put themselves out there every time they play. Now, this is the first one with Broomhead, confirmed that he's fractured 2 bones in his leg. And then we're going to see some vision of Tom Scully, which was also excruciating and hard to watch. Both players taken off on a stretcher and in an ambulance to hospital.
Yeah, a broken leg confirmed for Tim Broomhead, a clean break of the tibia and the fibula, and the fibula, I should say, and Tom Scully with a fractured ankle. Also devastating scenes. And the other injury concern out of this match today was Darcy Moore with a hamstring. So a blow for the Pies, that is for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it really throws their forward line into disarray as well. If Darcy Moore can't be there for an extended period of time, we know that Fasolo and also Elliott are out. They were pretty good though today, the Magpies. I thought they put up a very, very good fight. They won contested footy. They won the tackle. So as a Magpies fan, you've got to be happy with that. They're in the game right until late in the last quarter, and I just thought the Giants' class shone through. Their leaders stood up. Thought Whitfield was terrific. Shiel and Canelio kicked his 3 goals, and probably just a little bit of lack of ball use from the Pies. They kicked it at 65% today, which really cost them and let them down.
They missed Toby Green today, the Giants, that is for sure, but they got there in the end. The Pies, their lack of scoring options, it's just insane, really, if you look at their top goal scorers from last year and how many are missing.
And they're in a forward-line crisis. When you look at this, that is their top goal scorers from last year. You've got to go all the way down to Hoskin, Elliott and Sidebottom, who are fit right now leading into round 3. So this is an issue for them. I'm not sure how they solve it, because we knew coming in Maine was an interesting recruit, as was Wells. Both of those haven't featured yet this season, and with Darcy Moore out, they're in a world of pain in their forward line, the Pies.
Yeah, it makes it pretty difficult for them, doesn't it? And on the positive side, though, for the Giants, well, it was a fairly rewarding day. Let's hear from their coach, Leon Cameron.
But in the end, we found a way to win, and probably this time last year, we probably would have lost that game. So there's definitely, that's the improvement that I've seen in the guys and the will to win when it's not working their way.
Leon Cameron there. So let's go now to Etihad Stadium, where it was a big day for the Gold Coast Suns, victorious over the Blues by 34 points. And the story of the day, Tom Lynch.
Oh, how good was he? Right from the start. Carlton just had no match-up for him, no answers. They tried Liam Jones on him, but we can see this vision here. Jones was just all at sea. He was lost. He tried to attack the footy when he should have been playing one-on-one, and he played one-on-one when he should have been attacking the footy. So great performance from Lynch. We've been waiting for this performance for some time, and there'll be a few Victorian clubs right now writing out rather large cheques for his services next year. Yeah,
pretty happy with himself there. He could fit into the Magpies forward line pretty well, couldn't he?
Well, they need someone like him. You know, they've got the small forwards who are injured at the moment, but Darcy Moore needs help. Lynch would be absolutely perfect. You can imagine him on the MCG in front of 90,000. So Magpies would be desperate for him.
And the pressure is on you this year, Kane, judging our AFL.com.au Team of the Week, selecting it every week. Does Lynch get in this time around?
Oh, the obvious answer is yes. Thanks for the feedback, footy fans last week. Very passionate about this Team of the Week. I feel the responsibility of it. But Lynch, clearly the full forward this week, as I said, best man on the ground, and it won't be the last time probably that he makes my Team of the Round this year.
All right, let's take a quick look at the Blues, because they have some big problems.
Well, they do. This is the performance from 3 of their tools today. Casbolt had to ruck because Cruiser wasn't there. He had no influence on the game whatsoever. Jacob Wiedering's lost, the #1 draft pick. They don't know whether to play him forward or back. He's been tried at both ends this season, and as I mentioned, the honeymoon is over for Liam Jones, who was well beaten against Richmond last week. He was beaten again badly against Tom Lynch this week, so they got some work to do with their tools.
Now, while the focus was on Tom Lynch in the Gold Coast side today, you've picked out another man as our Saturday star.
Loved his game today, Jared Lyons, the former Crow. He had 26 contested possessions, 8 in the first quarter, which is just remarkable. He had 14 clearances and 10 inside 50s, and I like picking out someone who doesn't get a lot of hype, and he's been a great pickup for the Suns. And what a start for Stewie Dew and the Gold Coast Footy Club, 2 from 2, and a big reason for that is this young man who goes back and slots the goal here. What a performance today.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got the Dockers next week, the Suns, the first of 2 games coming up in the West. And speaking of WA, well, it was Freo's night, that is for sure, against the Bombers. 16-point victors here, the Dockers. And this was perhaps a little bit of a surprise, but an impressive night for Freo.
Oh, great night for Fremantle, the first game at the new stadium. And has Ross Lyon finally realised that his side is in a rebuild? I love the fact that he played this young man here, Chera, who was terrific. I predict he'd be the round 2 rising star this weekend after his performance, 2 goals, and was their second pick in the draft behind Brayshaw. Brayshaw was good again, and Ross made 4 changes at selection. He's debuted 4 players this year, which is the most in his coaching career. And finally, I think we're seeing the young talent that we've needed to from the Fremantle Footy Club.
And Optus Stadium is a pretty cool place to watch footy. 49,000 fans there, so it was an absolute cracker. Not a great night out for the Dons. They kind of just failed to fire, didn't they?
They did, and there was a couple of their stars that we're going to highlight who just had really, really poor nights. Joe Danaher's been a consistent key forward for a long time. 39 weeks he's gone without being goalless. Well, this is the first time tonight in 39 rounds that he was goalless. And Jake Stringer, coming across from the Dogs, much hype premiership player, just the 9 disposals, 4 kicks, 1 mark and goalless. So Jake Stringer's start at the Bombers has not been what he hoped for.
I'll tell you what, it was a nerve-wracking week last week for the Demons. It was again on Saturday night at the Gabba. They got there in the end against the Lions, but I'll tell you what, these fans are on the edge of their seats at times.
If it wasn't for the class of these 2 players that we're going to highlight, Jesse Hogan with 5 goals and Garlett as well, who bobbed up late. He kicked 4. If it wasn't for those 2 in the forward half, you'd hate to think what could have happened for the Demons in the start to their season. But they were good enough in the end, but you'd think that Simon Goodwin would walk away with a lot to work on for the Melbourne Footy Club, and he won't be satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely, but lots of positives nevertheless. But Demons fans, if you think you had a frustrating Saturday night on the couch, what about Chris Fagan? He was pretty frustrated in the coach's box, and you'd suggest that after this, Kane, he might need to get his hand looked at by the club doctor.
Oh, you've got to be better than that. There's only one way that can end when you punch the desk, and that's with a broken hand. You'd assume he'll learn from that.
Lots of conversation about Good Friday football and whether or not the Saints really had any right to be playing on the Good Friday stage. It was a fairly ordinary game of football, particularly that first half.
On the back of what they produced, they probably didn't deserve the right, and we're just looking at some of their basic skill areas. We could have highlighted the number of these. We've just plucked these out. The kicks just in hope straight to the North Melbourne defenders who chopped it off regularly. We saw drop chest marks. This one here from McCartan, just you need to take that as a key forward. You can't go about dropping those. Their 3 big tall forwards were goalless. But more concerningly for Alan Richardson was the ease in which North Melbourne scored. They scored 74 points off their turnovers, 32 scoring shots for North Melbourne. They were insipid St Kilda, and they've got a lot to work on.
It was interesting listening to you speaking to Alan Richardson on radio, revealing the news that they actually had on Saturday morning an emergency meeting, the Saints. Let's listen.
No, the guys, we're going to have a couple of days off, Kane, and there's losses and there's losses. There's you know, I'm not one to be overly reacting, but it was important to get back together and make sure that we stick together and identify, you know, what happened and probably even more importantly, what we're going to do about it. So, no, it was something that we felt we needed to do.
And do you think that that's the right thing to do, to get the team together straight away like that?
Loved it. If I'm a St Kilda fan at home, I don't want St Kilda having a couple of days off. I want you getting together straight away, less than 24 hours, and addressing what you're going to do about it. Because for St Kilda, it doesn't get much easier. They've got Adelaide. They've got a really tough next month of footy. They're staring down the barrel of 1-5 unless, like this morning, they address the issues and get their stuff together. Speaking
of the Crows, they were pretty good against the Tigers. Do you have any concerns about the reigning premiers?
Well, not really. I think that not too many sides are going to come to Adelaide and win. I think the Crows are 27 from their last 33 at the Adelaide Oval. The only slight concern I would have is if the small forward line can hold up again. I just thought the Adelaide defenders marked the ball regularly and Richmond's forwards were unable to bring the ball to ground. So that'd be the concern. But look, as I said, not too many sides are going to come to Adelaide and win.
All right, let's take a look now at the ladder midway through round 2, and the Giants and the Suns are at the top of the page. I tell you what, the AFL would be happy about that. They're 2 expansion teams.
How's your tipping?
My tipping is not going very well at all. The Lions, the Pies and the Blues 0-2. As the ladder begins to take shape, it's going to be a little while before we get to see things in full detail. Let's take a look at the rest of the round for you. There's some cracking matches still to come in this round 2 of football. The Bulldogs and the Eagles, the Swans and the Power, and then Easter Monday, the Cats and the Hawks. Danger Woodlet is what everyone's looking forward to.
Can't wait for the trio. Some saying the best trio ever to play together, and cracking games across the round. As I said, my tipping, just give it a miss because it's a disgrace. And those 3 games there, genuine 50-50s. One
more thing before we go. I think Jared Garlett's still coming down from this. This would have been a certainty for Mark of the Year if it had came off, surely.
Oh, he won't live this down for the rest of his life. What an effort. He did the hard part. He got up there, but just dropped the easy mark, uncontested up there, all alone. Needed some oxygen. He was up that high. I'm so disappointed he didn't pull that one down.
He dropped the card, didn't he?
Oh, he did.
We all went up in the newsroom when he went up and he just couldn't get it. All right, Kane, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, can't wait.
Kane Corns with us, and that is our look at the round so far.